Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. I want to welcome you to another segment of the Jermaine Brown Sports Talk Show. Today is Sunday, August the 16th, 2026. Today's topic is going to be about quarterbacking 101. I look at, before I get into that, let me start to say this. And remember, this is just in the NFL, the preseason has started, which means we're about to get into football season. And I love college football the best. But um, the NFL is very popular and stuff like that. But anyway, and I'm going to say this about Kevin Stefanski. We had a preseason game the other day in Atlanta, and it didn't go well. And in preseason, your offense is supposed to at least look good. If nothing, because remember, you're not going against the other team's top defense. You're not they're not doing no exotic schemes and stuff. Everything is basic. So your offense should at least look good. It did not look good. You're not going to survive if you're having problems having your offense look good in preseason. Imagine once you get to the regular. In preseason football. Imagine what you're going to have when you get to the regular season. You better get that fixed and fixed fast. But this is not so much about Kevin Stefanski. I want to talk about so-called quarterback competitions. You had one in Minnesota, and Minnesota did the right thing. Named Kyler Murray the starter. Once they brought in Kyler Murray, J.J. McCarthy was never going to win that job. He effectively lost that job. In Indianapolis, that so-called quarterback competition, well, Daniel Jones is QB1, Anthony Richardson is QB3, which means they're going to most likely cut him. He's going to most likely get cut. That's just the reality. I can see J.J. McCarthy getting cut. Those things, Anthony Richardson is definitely going to get cut. J.J. McCarthy might get cut. But I want to talk about that so-called quarterback battle in Cleveland. Now, and I've stated this before, and I'll state it again. I'm going to add a disclaimer. I'm a Deshaun Watson guy. Always have been, always will be. That said, I felt that at the end of this previous season, this past season, based off the player Shador, they should have given the job to Shador, the QB1 to Shador. He should have been QB1 coming into this offseason. But when the Browns did not do that, that told me everything I needed to know. That they wanted to give Deshaun every opportunity to basically snag this job. And in my mind, what that told me was that Shador was going to have to exceed expectations and exceed Deshaun Watson to win this job. Because the Browns internally wanted to set it up for Deshaun Watson to get this job. Now, the word was that Shador allegedly outplayed Watson in training camp and all that other stuff. But in the preseason game we saw yesterday, which was the first preseason game, and both guys played. Now, we're going to add some qualifiers. They weren't going against the other team's number one defense or top defense. There wasn't no exotic schemes. Deshaun Watson was playing with the ones while Shador was playing with the threes and the fours, the guys who most likely either won't make the team or will end up playing on special teams. That's just the way it was. But that was for yesterday's game. And when you're trying to overtake someone, you have to come out looking better. That's just the reality. And here's the problem for those who want Shedeur to start. Now, take out your feelings for Deshaun Watson. Take out your feelings for Shedeur Sanders. Just look at this objectively. Quarterbacking one-on-one. Number one, eliminate the mistakes. Don't make the mistakes. In other words, don't turn the ball over. Well, unfortunately, both quarterbacks did. I'm not going to talk about Dylan Gabriel because he's not going to be QB2. He's not going to be QB1. He's just not. So I'm not talking about I'm leaving Dylan Gabriel out of this. I'm just talking about Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders. So both guys made key mistakes that cost them their team points. Matter of fact, they gave up points. But here's the second most important thing. And this is something that every coach wants, whether they say it or don't say it. Completion percentage and QBR, quarterback ratings, matter. Now, don't tell me how to configure QBR. I don't know how they configure that or how that's computed. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know how that's computed. I'm not going to pretend like I know how that's computed, but I just know it matters. Okay? Now, the one thing about Shedeur, he has a flair. Now, Deshaun used to have the flair for the dramatics. But Shedeur has the flair for the dramatics. But here's the problem with the flair for the dramatics. Quarterbacking is about making the layups. It's like really being the point guard. That flashy point guard who can put the ball between his legs and do all of this and go and lay it up. With his back turned to the basket is all nice and good. But the point guard's main job is to distribute the ball to his teammates, get other people involved, and make his teammates better. In football, that's the equivalent of completion percentage. And when you're throwing the ball down the field, which Shedeur likes to do, the problem with that is you're going to have a lower completion percentage. And the problem with that is you don't win as many, you're going to have more mistakes. You're not going to win as many games. I'm going to show you something to prove my point on this. I'm going to give you three guys, and you tell me what all three have in common. Kirk Cousins, Tom Brady, Brock Purdy. What do all three have in common? Taking the layups. Here, I'll do another comparison of three. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Aaron Rodgers. All three are Hall of Famers. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers. All three are Hall of Famers. But what stands Brady apart? Mike Francesa, the sports pope, called Peyton Manning the greatest regular season quarterback of all time. That's kind of an insult when you think about it. Notice what he said, regular season. Yet Brady gets the nod for being the greatest postseason quarterback. Now, I don't believe in that all-time stuff, regular season or postseason, because the game is different. But I understand what Francis is getting at. You know why Brady won more than Rodgers or Manning? And Brady is famous for saying this, taking the layups. Brady believes in throwing those balls for 5 yards per play. If you look at his average, he averaged less than 8 yards per attempt. So has Kirk Cousins, but let's put Cousins aside for a second. I'm talking about Tom Brady. Less than 8 yards per attempt. Brady is famous for saying 2 5-yard completions moves the sticks. Brady is famous for moving the sticks. And by moving the sticks, what is he doing? He's wearing out the other team's defense and he's putting points on the board, which allows his team to what? Win. When Peyton Manning says, well, I don't like the little short passes. He likes to throw the ball down the field. And notice Manning didn't win as much as Brady did. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers. What is Tom Brady, Brock Purdy, and Kirk Cousins famous for doing? Taking the layups. What if Shador's going to survive in this league? He better learn to take more of the layups. Stop so much trying to throw the ball deep down the field. That's nice and good, and take it when given to you, but take the layups. Because I looked at yesterday's performance of this so-called quote-unquote quarterback battle. And when you're competing to be the starting quarterback, I want to show you a side-by-side comparison between him and Deshaun Watson. Now, there are some qualifiers. Deshaun Watson played with the ones yesterday, which means he had the top guys on his team yesterday playing, while Shador was playing with the threes and fours. But Shador was also playing against the threes and fours, so he should have looked far superior. But he didn't. And here's why. Because he goes for the deep passes more, which means he's willing to take more chances. But the problem with taking more chances is more turnover risk and lower completion percentage. And my dad always said, give me the guy who's accurate over the guy who's more the wild guy. Give me the accurate guy. That's what coaches and teams want. If you look at Shador's stats last year, forget the yards, look at his completion percentage, 50 something completion percentage, or 50 something, 50 something percent completion percentage. That's poor in today's game. 20, 30 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, that would have been fine. But in today's game, that's a no-no. If you're not in the mid-60s, most of these guys are now in the 70s. But if you're not in the mid-60s, you're doing poorly when it comes to completion percentage. You're doing a poor job as a quarterback. I'm sorry. I just have to be just honest with you. Now, here's Shador's stats yesterday. We're playing with against the 3 and 4s, guys who will not be on a team's roster or going to be playing special teams. 6 of 11, which is only 54.5%. Let's bump it up to 55. 55% completion percentage, folks, is poor. Especially when you're going up against guys who will not be playing in the NFL on that team. With a passer rating, and this is very important, coaches and teams look at this. 39.6%, so let's call it 40%. Let's bump it up. Let's round it up. 40% completion percentage. That's poor. Not completion percentage, I'm sorry. 40% passer rating. That's poor. That's not going to cut it if you're trying to be a starting quarterback in the National Football League. Now, he's going to get a chance to redeem himself because this week, they play against the Buffalo Bills in a scrimmage on Thursday and then on a game on Saturday. He has to knock it out of the park. If he doesn't, he will not be the starter going into the season. Now, let's compare it to Deshaun. Now, Deshaun played with the ones. Okay. And he was going to be against the other teams, either ones or twos, guys who will be on the team. But also keep in mind, Deshaun Watson has not played football in over 2 years and really has played in the last 4 years, 6 years. Because remember, after the 2020 season, he took off the 2021 season because he refused to play for the Houston Texans. So he lost a year. Then, so that's one. And then for 4 years, he's been in Cleveland and he's barely played due to suspension and injuries. One suspension. The first year, he was suspended for the first 11 games. And then he's been injured ever since. So he's barely played for the Cleveland Browns. So think about it. For a guy who hasn't really played competitive football consistently for 6 years, here's what he did. Here's the Sean Watson stats: 11 for 15, 73.3%. So we're going to round down because it's underneath five. So 73% completion percentage. Ideal. I don't care about passing yards. Passer rating, 98.2. That's what you want from your quarterback. Now, they both had turnovers, so they both equal out there. But here's the thing: you like your quarterback to have wild plays. It's good to have that. That we call those the home runs in baseball. But you know the successful teams do? They don't always go for the fence. They get on base by hit singles. That's why the Yankees had the dynasty they had in the 90s. They weren't no big home run hitting team. But what the Yankees was good at doing was manufacturing runs by getting on base, hitting singles. Okay? And investing, we call those hitting singles, not always going for the home run. The home run's exciting, but hitting singles gets you into the Hall of Fame, whether you're an investor or whether you're an athlete, doing the basics. This is why when I look at why was the Knicks so successful this year? Because they had a point guard. And remember, the point guard is the quarterback in the NBA who did the basics well, got the ball to his teammates, and then when was called upon, made the basic plays. He wasn't fancy and put the ball between his legs and shooting with his back turned to the back. He wasn't doing all of that stuff. He's not the most gifted point guard. He's not the most exciting point guard to watch. He's not going to come pull up from half court and hit threes and all that other stuff. That's not Jalen Brunson. But Brunson does the mundane things well. That's why he's so successful, because he does the basics. He has mastered the basics, which a lot of point guards in this league, in the NBA, can take note of. Master the basics. In the NFL, you need your quarterback to master the basics. And considering that Deshaun has not really played in 6 years, what he did yesterday was impressive because I did not think he was going to play that well. Because you're rusty. You take 2 to 6 years off of your career, and then tell me when you come back how you think you're going to do. I don't care what field you're in, what endeavor you're in. You're gonna be rusty. And so what Sean did yesterday is he took the layups. No, he didn't do no splash plays. No, he didn't do no wild plays like Shador did yesterday. But notice he was more effective. And guess what? The team put more points on the board with Deshaun yesterday than they did with Shador. And more points means what? Victories. And notice that Tom Monkey made note of that at the end of the game, after the game yesterday, that They had more scoring drives with Deshaun than they did with Shador. Now, again, there's context, but still, that's not the point. The point is this: for those that want Shador to succeed in the NFL, and I want him to succeed in the NFL because I like Shador. I like the Sanders family. I have my issues with them, but I like them overall. But if Shador's going to succeed in the NFL, he has got to learn to take more of the layups, which means I need my quarterback to be more patient. The wild plays, they're nice. Get them when they come, but take the layups. Keep the chains moving. That's how you win in this league. Kirk Cousins hasn't won a lot of games, but Kirk Cousins is one of the top 3 to 5 highest paid quarterbacks in history, or has made more money from quarterbacking in history of the game. Because why? His ability to take the layups. That's why he makes the money. That's why Tom Brady's about to go to the Hall of Fame with 7 rings. That's why. The layups. No one's going to ever say Tom Brady was the most talented, the most athletic, the most gifted. No. He's like the Jalen Brunson of the NFL. Tom Brady is like the Jalen Brunson of the NFL when you think about it. That's quarterbacking 101. Taking the layups, moving the chains, putting points on the board. Again, I'm surprised that Deshaun did as well as he did, considering. And that's why he is going to most likely win QB1 to start the season, to the chagrin of a lot of people, because a lot of people don't want him to play, don't want him to start. And part of it is because they fear that if he does well, see, they don't want him to play because the risk is, yes, he could do well. And if he does well, they're going to be very upset because, see, they're very upset. He upset the apple cart, folks, because when he accused Bob McNair, who's the owner of the Houston Texans, of racism, and he refused to see. They don't want an outspoken black man. No, that remember the last person who was like that, Colin Kaepernick, they got out of the league. Deshaun Watson upset a lot of people when he did what he did. That's why these allegations all of a sudden came out against him. Now, I'm not saying that he had no um, factor in that, because in actuality, come on, man. When you're wealthy, why are you getting massages from people from off the internet? You hire, you know, um, escort agents to do that, escorts to do that, where this thing called discreet. Okay, because now they sign NDAs, non-discreet agree. I mean, non-disclosure agreements. Okay, you pay for that, but trying to get it on the cheap, look what it cost you, your reputation. And they would have never used it against you until you got out of line. Okay, till you got out of line, then all of a sudden it was used against you. See, I know how the system works. I know how the system, they did this to bring you down, and it was successful. And then, of course, those injuries added to that. But it was good to see how he performed yesterday. That's how teams want their quarterbacks to play, despite what is publicly put out there by most people. That's how teams want their quarterbacks to play. And anybody who tells you he played poorly yesterday or did not do well, they're lying to you. because they have biases, or they don't want to see him successful. And they fear what is about to get ready to go down, that he's going to be named QB1, which is what I suspect could happen after this week here. He's going to be most likely named QB1. Now, I've made predictions in the past. I've been wrong, so I could be wrong on this again, but I don't think I will be, but we'll see. I want to thank you for watching another segment of Jermaine Brown Sports Show. Give me a like, thumbs up, comment. Let me know what you think. Tell me what you think about this topic. Have a nice day. Bye bye.